Hello, this is John Speelman with the video version of my latest column, number 178 apparently. I've just looked up my records, and it's not an Agony column, of course, anymore. It's just whatever really takes my fancy. And today I've called the column "First Catch Your Rabbit!" exclaim. Well, this is possibly apocryphal, something that didn't actually happen, quote, which was from Isabella Beeton, who wrote a famous cookbook in the 19th century. Is it Mrs. Beeton's Practical Cookery or something like that? It's not quite that, I think. I'm sorry, I should know precisely. And talking about making a stew, possibly of a hare, actually, rather than a rabbit, she said, apocryphally, "First catch your rabbit," which was a joke. She was quite... You have this idea that this woman who wrote this cookbook must be this very solid cook, but actually she was quite vivacious, I think, what I read about her, or heard about her. Anyway, so she said, first catch your rabbit. Well, obviously I'm a vegetarian. I'm just going to check, by the way, that we are recording, because otherwise this is pointless, and we are. So first catch your rabbit is even more irrelevant to me today in the age of the supermarket than it is to the general public. But the general point that you have to prepare before you do perform an operation, in her case, make a stew, make a delicious stew, and in our case, find chess ideas in a game of chess, is absolutely applicable, very germane. And so I said, well, it applies in real life as well, but happily we don't have to consider the vagaries of real life here. We can just get on with some chess. So what I've got today is I've got two games and I've got a study. And the games both show preliminary manoeuvres in order to set up a combination. And the study is just rather beautiful and does have some preliminary play, as they normally do. So let's go to my chess space, my ridiculous chess space window with all these icons of different databases, and number 178. And we'll start with Wojtaszek against Najditch. Where was it? It was a rapid, was it? 2014. I didn't realise it was a rapid. And I'm going to actually put it onto replay training. Well, I won't yet. No, I'll put it into replay training in a bit. So it's one of these semi-tarashes which were repopularised by Vladimir Kramnik. And basically he liked this position because you got sort of a Grunfeldy position but with fewer white pieces in the board. And he felt if you could stabilise the position, sometimes you could have a lot of fun later. And well, here Wojtaszek played Rook b1 in this game, but I've also got a game years later against where he played the normal main line against Kramnik, and later it went horribly, horribly wrong. And they played all these moves. It looks fairly harmless. He starts basically equalising at this point, I'd say. Perhaps he's trying to win at this point, but he probably wasn't for very long. And they got to this ending. Well, you might think this is just dead drawn. They got the equal material. And I think if White's knight pawn were on e3, then it would be pretty dead drawn, really. There'd be nothing very much going on. But the slight difference is a real problem for White. Well, first, his knight is really not very well. It's going to take a little while to get the horse back into the action, and because of e4 that pawn is a little bit weak and the f4 square is very slightly weak, and black sort of wants to put a knight in f4 and play g5. He certainly wants to think about doing so, and Kramnik started to torture him, and torture him he most certainly did. It was pretty grim, this game. Okay, what you do as black is you do not exchange pieces, you need all the boys. And okay, you've lost a pawn for the moment, but it isn't for long. Beautiful horse on e5. And the game continued. If you swap knights and take the pawn, then it'll be a draw. Should be a draw anyway. So he carried on with the pieces and just kept on going and kept on going, and they played a lot of moves, and in the end they drew. Actually, so at some point round about here he managed to win a pawn, but even after that it wasn't enough. So apparently, I just know this is an iconic game. So if you play knight takes pawn, there is going to be how are you going to just rook f8, of course. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Stupid. I had a feeling the kings were the other way around. Okay, so he didn't try to bring his king back. Of course, white can play knight takes e6 now, which is people think the rook and knight against rook is basically a draw. So, and eventually they agreed to draw in this position. But the point is that this ending was a lot of fun for Kramnik and not at all fun for Wojtaszek. This game he played rook b1, which starts pawn takes pawn and bishop b4 check, obviously. I don't think Najditch played particularly accurately around about here. But I mean, okay, they got some position. I don't know if queen a5 to c7 is particularly sensible. Doesn't seem to help very much, really. And here he should have gone something like bishop c6. So a normal engine, something like Houdini, which is a bit old, but I mean quite, sort of gives human type assessments, says half a pawn here or something. And I think that Stockfish 15, Its Majesty Stockfish 15, says something like +1 and a bit or something. I mean, white's got a centre, yeah. But the game continues. Okay, what he actually did was he went rook to there. And this turned out to be a really big mistake. Because, well, because the white has a sequence. So he started e5. And I'm going to put it into replay training now. So when you go e5, the guy ought to have played knight e8, but he played knight d5. So the question is, why has he done this slightly odd manoeuvre, giving the knight a square? And the reason is that he kicks it. So now he's caught his rabbit. So at the moment, black has quite a decent game, really. If he had one more move, sort of bishop c6 or something, and white couldn't mate immediately with knight g5, which he can't because the bishop's an e7, then the position would actually be quite good for black, because you'd be playing bishop takes f3 and trying to take in d4. And the game would continue. It would be complicated, but I mean, you know, there you are. But now he played the excellent move d5, threatening to fork the queen and bishop. And because the bishop is trapped, I think you can take in d5 first if you want to. I don't know if that's a bit better, actually. I ought to. Let me turn on its Sublime Majesty, actually, because I've realised that I should have looked at that. Just take new variation. Take bishop c5. Can you still go? You can just go queen c2, okay. g6. Sorry, g6, excuse me. I'm just following the engine at the moment. Overwrite, and then he wants to just go queen d2. Bishop g4, clearly. d6. He's already taking that, which is a bit surprising to me. Why is he taking that? What happens if queen d7, just rook bc1? He's just saying this position is disgusting, really. You're going to play knight g5 and attack. It doesn't look that clear. He should have tried this, because what he actually did, I mean, the thing is that by capturing, I should have said this earlier. This opens the d7 bishops diagonal, preventing sacrifice in the game. Sorry, I should have done that earlier. I hadn't realised really. Okay, let's put this in the replay training. So that would have been better. It was very bad. Bishop to there, and now the bishop has been driven away from, and I'm sorry, you can see that. We're in replay training, rotation, replay training, and it is white to play. So the bishop no longer controls g5, which suggests that white might be able to play a stock sacrifice, and he did. He played the Greek gift. Exclam, I suppose. I'm not sure if I put an exclam. We'll see in a minute. So when you play a Greek gift, there are basically three possible defences. By the way, with the diagonal open, you might conceivably be able to get away with king g8, queen h5, bishop f5. Though perhaps you could play something else, queen d3 and e6 or something, I don't know. But king g8 at the moment just gets mated by queen h5, rook e8, queen f7, king h8, queen h5, king g8, queen h7, king f8, queen h8, king e7, queen takes, pawn, checkmate. That's a stock finish in this particular, after the Greek gift. So that's very, very simple. He could also try king g6 when you play queen g4 as normal, f4, f5, and actually here, well, there's also bishop f2 check and then f5. And is that a slightly better version? I wonder if that's a slightly better version. I'm going to add a kibitzer again. I'm going to again add stockfish, because it just occurred to me, I was looking at queen to here, sorry. If bishop f2 check first, king, oh, you can play king h1, f5, you just take. So you do this anyway, right? So the point is that if king g6, queen g4, f5, if you go queen g3, bishop f2 check, sets up some sort of defence, not a very good one, but you can try. And to avoid, you have to play king takes. So if queen g3 takes, check here, and black is defending a bit. Maybe quite a lot, I don't know. He's much worse, but he's fighting. So you don't do that, actually. You go e takes f6. And I mean, okay, the thing is that you're landing now on e6, and this is just lost. I mean, for instance, bishop f2 check, you just move your king, you don't care. And one line goes like this. I was doing this, and I was thinking, well, I played d6 check, and isn't there a pin against rook takes rook? And it took me a moment to notice actually what was happening was what's happened now? Let's go that to replay training. That d6 is actually checkmate. It took me a moment to notice, and actually I just saw a noughts and crosses sign, whatever it's called, a hash sign in the notation. I thought, oh my god, that's mate, because otherwise if the king could run away, you'd have to unpin. Say the b4 pawn wasn't there, you could go d6 check, king b4, rook b1 check, and then pawn takes queen, and of course it wins. But I mean, you just need to realise that. And of course, if you go to e3, you just go here and mate is one way to do it. Let's go back. What actually happened was that the man went to h6, queen to there happened, and he tried this move. And now white can actually play a really spectacular sequence leading to the end of the world for black. And maybe it'd be nice to try to find it. Have a little look and see if you can find the sequence. You could guess how it might start. And it would be plausible it started queen h4 check, king g6. And then you would certainly look at queen h7 check in a game and see if you could make it work. And it does, but in rather a spectacular way. It goes queen checks, king to there, check here, check here. And now the thing is, black has the two squares g4 and g5, and that happens. You can just play this spectacular move, g4 check. Beautiful move. Now king h4, you go queen h6 check, king takes pawn, h3 check and mate, and a couple more moves. And if bishop takes pawn, which is what was played, queen checks here, here. Again, the black king is trapped because the bishop on g4 blocks the squares. Queen to there check and he resigned because of king f3, rook e3 check, and queen takes bishop mate. Or indeed rook b3 check and rook takes either rook or anything takes the bishop with checkmate. Either rook or the queen. So a very, very nice game actually. Let me just check I haven't lost my notation or something due to the quirks of Master Chess Space. I have not. Occasionally when you try to do things when you're in replay training it gets confused. But it hasn't. So that was a lovely game. And in the terms of our column, it was sorry, wrong one, wrong bit. In the terms of our column, it was e5. After rook a8, it was e5, c4, takes, and d5 that captured the rabbit, caught the rabbit. Right, okay, that's the first one. Next one is a very famous game, Reti against Alekhine. Very, very famous game. When I looked in chess in the Megabase, the annotator was a certain Garry Kasparov. I thought I can't nick his annotations. What I did do was to take the variations, because I could easily have generated them myself with an engine, and I cut all his words out and put my own on. If you want to see what Gary said, I think it must be in his book My Great Predecessors as well, then you can find it in Megabase with notes. They're actually in English and German in parallel. There we are. Anyway, I took a very slight sneak preview and I noticed he talked about who Richard Reti was. Of course, he was the great hypermodernist. All that's in the introduction. 2 knight f3 is very uncommon. I seem to remember I was looking for a game of Bent Larsen's with it, but I couldn't find it. Not immediately, and I was too idle to go to my shelf and look in Larsen's selected games. But I think Larsen did try this at some point. Alekhine played very, very conservatively, actually, against this. He didn't try to refute it at all. He just played some moves. And so the pieces are in quite good squares. White has a slight advantage because he's got pretty good control of the queen side. Black is going to find it very hard to get in c5, almost impossible. So Alekhine played some sensible moves. I mean, you could have played h3 here, I think wouldn't be stupid. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, that's not the point of the game. Knight to there is a bit more. You have to watch out that you can't go b6 and c5 now, but presumably you can't. They repeated. I guess Alekhine might actually have taken a draw after bishop g2. He'd probably have been uncomfortable, I'm guessing. But now he has a tempo and he plays h5. And this is the beginning of the rabbit hunt. He's decided that what he should do is to weaken White's king side. And Reti carried on very blithely. So here Reti played b5, which I think perhaps he saw knight g3 and thought knight e3 and thought that doesn't really matter, I can ignore that. But he didn't see rook e3. The knight e3 can be met. The engines prefer knight b. Sorry. So they say e4. Knight e3 now is bad, and he gave this, which is actually quite bad for black. But my great and glorious engine says that knight b6 is better. Okay. Sorry. e4, knight b6, queen c2, knight d7, and it claims it's not very much, which could be true, I suppose. I mean, white, okay, is a little bit better, but nothing very special. Okay, what happened was that he went b5. Sorry. And now the guy didn't play. He played rook e3. So I should also say If knight e3, let's go into just ask my engine again. I think you just play queen d3 probably, or queen b3, I don't know which. Queen c3. I'm going to say knight e3 hits white can retreat the queen and keep some advantage. E.g. and my engine wants to go to b4 maybe. I don't know, queen b4. Okay. Right, sorry, I should have pointed that out really. Okay, but he went rook e3, which is a beautiful move, and now it's more forcing, of course, because you really can't, because you're threatening rook g3 with check. Kasparov gave several moves. F takes, we know, just loses to this. Queen takes bishop g2, bishop h3. That's very simple. By the way, rook e3 is a sacrifice to an empty square, like in last week's columns, and also it's a sacrifice which well, it's non-forcing, it doesn't attack anything, so it's a very fine move, but it does threaten rook g3 check. There's knight f3, which is played. There's bishop g2 was suggested by that's no good. But after you can try e3 here, and obviously this isn't great for white. And Kasparov gave knight e3 and knight d5. But strangely, when I asked the latest iterations of the engines, they said rook g2 check and rook e8 is just winning, which is not at all obvious. It's obvious that black has good compensation for the exchange. That's completely obvious, I think. But the fact that it's actually winning is quite a stretch from there, I would say. It wasn't at all clear to me that it would be winning, but apparently it is. If you look at its sublime majesty. Let's try pawn takes pawn as well. Rook takes e3. Let's try, say, pawn takes pawn again, and presumably something. Come on, oh great and glorious engine. You stuck. And now what are you doing? You're going rook h3 and simply laughing. You're saying b8 isn't happening. You cannot defend yourself, comrade. Rook h1, there's going to be some sort of knight e3 check, I guess, probably. Rook h1. Is knight e3 check going to be the big hit? It is. Knight e3 check, exclam. Okay. I mean, the thing is, this is all very splendid, but king to there. Rook g3 check, exclam. Ah, that's it. Okay. I was thinking rook takes rook and knight takes queen might not be very clear. Okay. So the thing is, in a game, it's really hard to see this, and you would play knight e3 check and knight d5, but the engine tells me that's winning. That's one of the things they can really do very well. So the move he should have played is actually bishop f3 takes. Now knight takes is not terribly good, though it should lead to a draw. Knight takes. And obviously, because you can give up both knights and a pawn for black's two pawns, you have to get rid of your pawn, but of course you can. And without too much trouble, you will be able to draw this position. Because two knights against a king is a draw, this is basically equal. Not much fun for white, but he would draw without too much trouble. And more sensible to take this way, and the engine is giving this as about equal. It's also giving this line with perpetual check. I think perpetual check is the best you can do as white. So okay. He should have gone bishop f3, but he went knight f3, which is a mistake. Pawn takes pawn. Excellent move. Just by now it's all tactics, and the tactics happen to favour black. The important thing is that by playing this, he gains a temper to play knight c3. And you have to take on b7. You go queen c4, b5, causes catastrophe totale, I think. More or less catastrophe totale, I assume. So, he went here, takes here. And now, Germane played a fantastic move. We'll go into replay training for a minute. Notation, replay training. He played the wonderful move. If he starts taking an f3, then he can probably win a pawn, but it's not going to be that clear. And he played, in fact, knight e4, which is a beautiful move. Attacking f2, attacking the rook. If f takes e3, you take this, and the other rook is on prise. Really great move, knight e4. He really was a brilliant tactician, Agony. The guy went here, get off prise, and then he doesn't take the rook, but the pawn, which is attacking the bishop, which is the glue which is holding white's position together. White tried this move, bishop e6. Now it's all gone horribly wrong, obviously. King h1, there's going to be some rook a1 check and knight g3 mate, isn't there? So we have to go there. Rook takes. It's poetry. And what I said is that, well, it's beautiful, isn't it? I said something like, I can't read my writing without doing this. A truly beautiful attacking game, brilliant attacking game by Agony, who I've misspelt, and I think maybe out of mark of respect will at least correct that, in which the way he calculated his way through the thicket of lines after rook e3 is breathtaking. Great player though he was, I can't possibly believe that he saw more than the outlines of the game and some individual lines when playing rook e3, but it was all initially prepared. The rabbit was caught. I'm sorry, my spelling is so absolutely, my typing is so horrible. By the advance of the h-pawn. Okay. So I hope it's a very famous game. You've probably seen it before. If you haven't, enjoy it. Now I'm going to go on now to a very, very famous study. This is a study by Mitrofanoff. Was he Leonid, I think, probably. I'm not actually sure. And this is just one of my favourite studies. It's obviously nothing to do with the normal chess position, but it is wondrous. And well, the question is how you catch the rabbit, really, because clearly you're doing preparation before something. So you start check. Now the thing is, if you go b7, g7 and g8 and something, there'll be queen a1 check. So you have to block the first rank or the 8th rank, your first rank. Knight takes rook is the best move. 7th here, queen is best. Nothing better. Now, basically, knight c6 check is the best you can do. I think knight c4 check or something, king a6, queen h2, b7 mate. So you do this and you play check. And now after king a6 there is queen e2 check. But Mitrofanoff had prepared the magnificent move, one of the most beautiful moves ever found by a study composer or prepared by a study composer. It's just poetry. A wonderful, wonderful move. Just changing the colour of the black queen square. The black queen is on. And now there's no sensible check. You try this. c7. You try this. There's nothing better. And if the knight went on the board, this would be a draw. But it is, so it's checkmate next move. Absolute poetry. And a beautiful, beautiful study. And of course, very little to do with normal chess, though there are occasions when you deflect a piece. Certainly deflecting the queen to stop her giving check is not that unusual, I would say, but giving up a whole queen in order to do so is breathtaking. Right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed doing it. Now it appears that the Sunday fortnight, a fortnight on Sunday, I'm doing this on Saturday, as you can see, on the 17th, will be the 2nd of October, which will actually be my birthday. I will be 66, God help us, in a fortnight. So I won't be doing a column for then, but I will be doing for the 9th of October. So enjoy life, and I will see you in 3 weeks' time. And there we are. And let's go and just check we're still recording, which we know we are, of course, and